Chat. Chizzy chat. Welcome into the chat. If you're hopping in live, if you're hopping in afterwards, shout out to you. We got a very interesting Thursday night game going on this week, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. Out of all of the Thursday night streams that I've done over here on this channel, this one might be the most insane. First of all, it's the first week of playoffs. So everybody in this live stream, congratulations to you. Shout out to you guys. Make sure to spam your start questions. Do whatever you got to do. This is the energy I need in the live stream here because we need to get a win in fantasy football. And I'll tell you, I have done way too much research, way too much fantasy statistics. Everything is in my brain to a point where I cannot sleep, I cannot eat, I cannot breathe without thinking about fantasy football. So shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Spammer starts your questions as always. We will go over the Thursday night matchup we're about to witness, and then we'll get into those as well. But shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Emeka or Tet. Honestly, I'll go with Tet this week. I do not trust Emeka Egbuka. He's already been on the fringe level of boom and bust, and now we have Mike Evans coming back. Now, Mike Evans is only supposed to play in the key downs. So red zone, third downs, and pretty much everything where you want Emeka Egbuka as the wide receiver one, which he's not going to be. Chris Godwin has worked in a lot as well, so it's also necessarily not a good thing. Doesn't make me happy, doesn't make me feel good inside. But with this matchup, Kyle Pitts is ruled in healthy for this one. Kyle Pitts is going to be fully healthy. He will be good to go. Kirk Cousins is at quarterback, so is it really that positive? That's the question. I would definitely be starting Kyle Pitts in this matchup. The Atlanta Falcons are about neutral in fantasy points allowed to the position, but it's still a spot where the Falcons should have to keep pace and maybe just rely on Bijan as well, which is Bijan is always going to be a must start. We have our running backs up on screen for the rankings right here. If you guys haven't tried the Walter Picks app yet, please go ahead and do that. You can use their start sit tool. This is the most important week of fantasy football. So if you're ever going to do it, now is the weekend. If you use code Avery, you can also get a free trial for the new users for the first week of the fantasy football playoffs. You can use all of their tools. I got you guys covered. Back to the start sit questions. We are definitely going with Dakota Prescott this week. The thing with Dak Prescott is he's always going to have some of the highest pass volume in the NFL. We absolutely love that, which is why he was a great value to start the year. But now, this week, Dak Prescott still gets a bit of a neutral matchup. Like the Vikings are not terrible in fantasy points allowed. They're not necessarily positive either, but it's a spot where I would go through and start Dak Prescott in this one over Trevor Lawrence. Kyle Pitts is starting. Yes, sir, he is. Our king, Kyle Pitts. Somebody in one of my home leagues actually went through and dropped Kyle Pitts, and I picked him up, chat. I picked him up, and I'm starting Kyle Pitts this week as well. I did have Tyler Warren, and now he's dealing with Phillip Rivers probably. If anybody has any of the Colts guys, just know that you're in for a tough week. Who knows what is going to happen on that offense? It's not something that I like to trust. We're going with Pitts or Kincaid, and why? See, that one is really, really close for me. I would probably lean Kincaid because of the target volume that goes to the tight ends, but more importantly, because of the matchup that we do see. The Patriots defense is really, really good. So if you want a floor, Kyle Pitts is definitely going to be that. If we're talking highest upside, Kincaid. But again, if we don't have, which we won't, Drake London in this matchup, Kyle Pitts could absolutely crush. It's just all up to the mercy of Kirk Cousins and who wants to deal with that in the last week of the playoffs or the first week of the playoffs. Do I start Mike Evans? I would not lean towards it. Mike Evans is starting for this game, but he is starting on key downs only. So it's probably only going to be the red zone, some third downs, which is important. Like those are the snaps that you want to be on the field. The only issue is that if you're not going to be on the field any other time, it's going to be really hard to trust in fantasy football. So if you've made it to the fantasy playoffs and you're here this far, it was not because of Mike Evans. So I think you can survive leaving him on the bench one more week. And if he does happen to pop off, then we know for next week. But I really don't think it's likely if he's going to play 50% of the snaps, possibly even less. Why Singletary over Tracy? Yeah, Tracy's dealing with a bit of an injury. He is questionable coming into this week. Hasn't officially been ruled in. So until that changes, Devin Singletary is going to be that guy. Are we going with Baker or Goff in this week's matchup? Yeah, I would take Goff in this one. I know it is a negative projected matchup. Like the Rams are a good defense for sure. Like Lonnie, thank you so much for the gifts on TikTok. I do appreciate that. But yeah, Jared Goff would be the answer for me over there because the game projected, I think, is the highest total at 55.5 points. And any team that's going to score that many points in an entire game environment that's going to be that pass heavy, I'll take Jared Goff. We have all of the guys healthy as well, so I love that. Are we going with Purdy or Trevor Lawrence? I do understand where this is coming from because Purdy does get a very positive matchup this week against the Tennessee Titans, but it's also a situation where the 49ers are projected to win this game by almost 2 touchdowns. So if those touchdowns don't come in the form of passing and all to Christian McCaffrey, he could be in for a little bit of an issue. The Jets defense isn't that great as well. The Jaguars are really needing a playoff win or lock themselves into the playoffs. It's pretty close for me, but I think Trevor Lawrence is my answer there. Are going with the Buccaneers defense or the Green Bay Packers defense? Yeah, this is a good one. They're both pretty decent options. The Buccaneers also get a good one next week. I do like the Packers, but the Broncos offense is just like a little bit too good. So the Buccaneers is, yes, they have a worse internal unit as far as defense goes, but I trust the matchup a little bit more there. Are we going with Stafford or Purdy? Definitely Stafford for me. We were just talking about how Jared Goff was in one of the most pass first, highest scoring projected games of the week. Well, when you look at Matthew Stafford, he is also in that matchup, but the Detroit Lions are allowing some of the most passing attempts and the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. So this is a Stafford week. If you have him, you're putting him in your starting lineup. Is Pitts going to be limited tonight? No, sir, he is not. At least for everything that we've heard in the reports, he's not, unless he decides otherwise. But no, he's going to be in there. We're going with Baker, Lamar. It's so unfortunate that we have to ask ourselves this question. I would go with Lamar Jackson. Again, you look at this game environment, there could possibly be a little bit of snow. I believe the Bengals are home. But even if there is, Lamar Jackson hopefully will get his rushing upside back. Like, he is a rushing quarterback. He is good in that. Shout out to everybody in the stream, man. If you guys are just now hopping in, spam your starts and questions. I'm answering as many as you possibly can answer and throw out there for me. We do this every single Thursday as well, so make sure to follow if you're planning on making it to the next round of the playoffs. But Lamar Jackson's my answer there for me. Are we going with DeAndre Swift or Kyle Pitts? Yeah, I usually do not advise to starting tight ends in your flex position, but you look at this matchup for the Bears, it's not necessarily positive. Now, we did just see Tony Pollard have his legacy game last week against this Browns defense. And the fact that you're splitting snaps with Kyle Monangai, I think the upside is just too high for DeAndre Swift. This is a winner-go-home week. Kyle Pitts could give you 20-something. He could give you 5. I'm taking the risk this week. I want a win. You can go and look at the running back rankings here. I have them scrolling through screen. So for anybody that wants to check where their running backs are, you can do that. Are going with Jacoby Myers or Devin Neal? Yeah, it's definitely going to be Jacoby Myers there. Guys, if you aren't followed to the stream yet, please do that. It takes 2 seconds. Thank you so much for the gifts over on TikTok. The followers' questions come up first in the order of the chats, so it's way easier for me to see it. And we got hundreds and hundreds of people in here, so definitely appreciate it for me. And I'll try to remember your username as well. Are we going with Olave or Evans? Yeah, I would take Olave in this one. Again, if you've made it to the fantasy playoffs, Jay, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate that. If you've made it to the fantasy playoffs and you're all the way here, it wasn't because you had Mike Evans healthy. I would go with Chris Olave in this one. There is a chance Evan does something, but he's only going to play on key downs, is what they've said. So to me, that's red zone work, that's third downs, and possibly when the game gets close. He's not going to play a full snap share, though, so I really don't want to be risking it. Are we going with Lamar or Bo Nix? Yeah, I would trust Lamar. Again, he hasn't been playing amazing, but this matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals is the second highest projected scoring game, possibly even the first now, but it's behind the Lions and the Rams. So I'm taking any piece of that where I can get it. So I really do think Lamar is a safe start this week comparatively to what we've seen Lamar be if you're talking safe starts. Josh Jacobs or Bucky Irving? Yeah, I would be taking Bucky Irving in this one. Way better matchup for him. The Atlanta Falcons have not been a good defense as of late. Are going with McMillan or Myers? I would go with Myers, but if Marvin Harrison Jr. does happen to miss, it's instantly Michael Wilson, and that's not much of a question. Not much of a question at all. Are we going with Tyler Warren or Brenton Strange? Yeah, this one is absolutely tough, man. This one hurts. I would still stick Tyler Warren, but I am very much worried about his floor here if we don't have any type of capable quarterback. Yo, thank you so much for the gifts on TikTok. I do appreciate that so much. Guys, if you aren't followed on any of the streams here, hit that follow button. The questions come up first for the people that are, so it's prioritized here, and I want to answer everybody's questions as well. Are we going with Darnell Mooney? I don't trust Darnell Mooney this week. Yes, he is the wide receiver 1. You can see in the rankings that he's not very high. Roman, thank you so much for the follow. Star as well. AJ, I appreciate the follows, guys. But I don't trust Darnell Mooney this week. He really has not been amazing, even as the wide receiver 1 without Drake London. It's a decent matchup, but nothing has shown us that Darnell Mooney can be a start. Marcus, thanks for the follow. Do I start Terry or JMO? See, that one's tough for me because the Lions game is projected to be the highest scoring game of the week, so that's always positive, but I would not take him over Terry McLaurin this week. He also gets a very positive matchup as far as fantasy points allowed to the position. The Giants, I believe, are top 5 in fantasy points allowed to wide receivers, and Marcus Mariota actually is not that negative as far as supporting his wide receivers, so I do like that as well. I'm going with Burrow, Dart, or May. Yeah, I would take Burrow in this one. Again, not necessarily a must-win game, but it's very, very high in playoff implications, at least for the Ravens. I don't really think Joe Burrow has any chance of making the playoffs, but very positive matchup as well. I know the Ravens defense has been playing better as of late, but still one where he's a top 5 quarterback this week. Are we going with Mike Evans? Is he playing tonight? He is playing tonight, but we are not trusting Michael Evans. He's only playing on key downs. If you made it to the fantasy playoffs at this point, it probably was not because of him. So I want the highest potential guys, and he does not smell like that to me. I'm going with Alec Pierce or Rome Odunze. Yeah, at this point, you're going Rome Odunze. Alec Pierce cannot be trusted without Daniel Jones. Evans question mark. Yeah, Evans is playing, guys. Evans is playing this week. Stafford or Mayfield? Yeah, it's easily Stafford for me. The Lions and the Rams are projected to be the highest scoring game of the week. The Detroit Lions are allowing some of the most points to opposing quarterbacks, running backs, teams, wide receivers. You're starting them where you can get them. Shout out to everybody on TikTok. If you guys are watching, sending the gifts. I do appreciate that. Make sure you are followed if you're not, because followers' questions come up first in the order of the chat, and it is the most prioritized. Are we going with, let's see, Purdy or Mayfield? Yeah, I'll be going with Baker Mayfield in that one. Prescott or Dart? That's a great question. I would take Dart against this Commanders defense. They have been a little bit better with Dan Quinn calling the plays, but it's not like it was marginal. Like it's the marginal difference is not that crazy. So I think it's still a safe matchup. Guys, shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Everybody in this chat right now is in the fantasy playoffs, or I guess maybe the toilet bowl. I hope none of you guys are in the toilet bowl. Let me know if you are. But this is the most important week that we've come across so far in the year. So we want to make sure we get everything right. And I appreciate you guys spending time in this live stream. Hit the like button on the stream if you haven't already. 1-800 Lamb, thanks for the follow. JT, thanks for the follow. Dart or May? I'd still be going with Dart. He's playing like an MVP caliber quarterback. Now, the Bills, for some reason, surprisingly, are not allowing a lot of points to quarterbacks. It's actually a negative matchup. If anybody's going to take advantage of it, I would say it's him. Shout out to JS for the super chat over on YouTube. You are appreciated. Thank you guys so much. JS, let's get your question in here. Mike Evans or Godwin tonight? Do I start JT? Yes, you always start JT. Godwin or Mike Evans hurts my soul, guys. Guys, let's get some help from the chat. If it was me, I would be going with Chris Godwin. I just trust his usage a little bit more. He's going to be on the field for pretty much all of the snaps. It really does depend what key plays means for the Buccaneers. It could be 30% of the snaps. It could end up be 70. I think Mike Evans is that kind of guy. If he's playing, he's going to play crazy. But from a floor perspective, Godwin would be the safer answer there. I appreciate you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for hopping in the live stream. Hey, Avery, what is up? Pick one, Kelsey Andrews or Theo Johnson. Andrews does have a decent situation against this Bengals team. They do allow the number one most fantasy points to opposing tight ends this year. You take out last week even, when the Bills put up 38.7 total points in the tight end position on the Bengals. Outside of that, they're still top one. Mark Andrews is splitting with Isaiah Likely, though, so it makes him really, really worrisome. I would take Theo Johnson, surprisingly, out of all these guys. The Commanders' defense is very, very soft to the tight ends. And both of these defenses kind of suck. So it should be a very offensive-centric game. We do have Jackson Dart back in here. But I wouldn't be surprised if Mark Andrews falls into the end zone for a touchdown there. Are going with Pitts, Harvey, Quentin Johnson, or Kittle, half PPR pick 2. Well, I'll definitely take Kittle at number 1. And then if it's half PPR, I would take Harvey over Quentin Johnson for sure, and Kyle Pitts in that one. Baker or Dart? Yeah, I'd be going with Dart in this one. The Commanders' defense cannot stop anybody. They cannot stop anybody, chat. Singletary or Chuba. It does depend on the health of Tyrone Tracy. I'd probably lean Singletary in this one because either way, it looks like he's going to be a bit banged up. And Singletary would essentially act as the RB1 temporarily. And Chuba has his upside, but it really is like a complete swing of what to expect. We really don't know. And the 49ers defense is decent. They've been pretty banged up, so it's not necessarily a negative matchup there. Are going with Egbuka or Chris Rodriguez? Yeah, I'll go Egbuka there. I know he's been completely up and down. Especially with Mike Evans coming back, but the PPR upside keeps him a little bit safer. Jacobs or Corum? Yeah, we're definitely going with Josh Jacobs still. Corum is doing his thing, but not over that. Is Isaiah Likely a good start over Gadsden? I honestly would take Isaiah Likely over Gadsden, chat. because of this game environment, again, that does matter a lot more than people think. The Bengals and the Ravens game is projected to be one of the highest scoring of the week. So I'm taking that every chance I get. And Isaiah likely has been getting used more and running more routes. He has just so happened to drop 2 touchdowns over the past 2 weeks. If he were to had just caught one of them, just one of them, he would be an instant star, I'm sure, for most people. Shout out another super chat in the Chizzy chat. Alexander, shout out to you. May or Dak? One of the biggest questions of the week, one of the most important of the week. I would be going with Drake May in this one. Both of them get somewhat negative matchups. Drake May against the Bills is projected to be one of the higher scoring games of the week, which we do like. But technically, the Bills are a negative matchup because they're bottom 10 in fantasy points allowed to the quarterback. So are the Vikings, though. I don't think it's going to be a problem because the Bills' defense isn't that great. It's just for some reason you're just running all over the Bills' defense because they can't stop the run. I do think Drake May is a start there, and I would take him over Dak pre-scoot over there. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Keep spamming the likes if you are enjoying yourself. I mean, this is the most important week of fantasy football, so I'm sure you are. We're going with Diggs or Ibuka. I would be going with Diggs in this one. I know his snap share has absolutely tanked over the past 2 weeks, but that's not expected to happen again. I'm going with Evans or Vele. See, this is one of those situations where I would take the upside in Evans. He's not expected to start a ton of snaps. Yo, thank you so much for the gifts over on TikTok, guys. If you are doing that, shout out to you. Followers' questions are prioritized as well in the chat, so it's so much easier for me to see it. He says, Egbuka, Godwin, or Tracy. I would take Godwin over all of those guys. Evans or Vela, yeah, I would go Evans with the upside as well. Ava, thanks for the follow. Bradley, thanks for the follow. I do appreciate you. User as well. Everybody in the chats, shout out to you if you're hitting that follow button. This is the most important time of fantasy football, so you cannot afford to get your question missed. Shout out YouTube, another Chizzy chat super chat. Tim, shout out to you. We got Warren or Pitts, or should I go with Isaiah likely? Yeah, I would not go with Warren this week. The fact that we don't have Daniel Jones, possibly Phillip Rivers, the upside and the downside is way too big. I would not trust that. And then I would go Pitts over Isaiah likely. Likely probably has the highest upside, but he does have a big floor with the amount of snaps he's splitting with Mark Andrews. And Pitts does have a decent upside this week as well. Fully healthy for this matchup, so no worry there. But he also does have more of a higher target share because we don't have Drake London in this matchup as well. Next up in the chat, we have another super chat. Shout out to everybody in the YouTube chat, guys. You guys are going crazy. Coach, shout out to Coach, man. We are going only other option to Evans is Vele or Gadsden. Yeah, I would still say the same. I would take Evans over Vele and Gadsden there. Shout out to the super chat from you. I just got to hope the Buccaneers are being truthful about his usage. Another chat, we're going with Tet or Terry. I would definitely be taking Terry in this one. Guys, if you haven't hit that follow button, follower questions are prioritized in chat. Super easy for me to answer because it pops up first, and I will try to read your name out because I do appreciate everybody showing love to the stream. JR, thanks for the follow. Shay, thanks for the follow. We're going Evans or Harvey at the flex. I would take Harvey personally. I trust him way more. If you've made it to the fantasy playoffs, it wasn't because of Mike Evans. Now is not the week I'm risking it. And if he comes back, has a good game, and you make it to the next round, and he's projected to have a high snap share, perfect for next week as well. Are we going with Ladd or Michael Wilson? It's going to be Michael Wilson if there's no Marv, but if Marv is playing, then we're not going with Michael Wilson. Thanks, Avery. Shout out to you, man. If anybody doesn't know my name, now you know. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Are we going with Stafford or Mayfield? Definitely Matthew Stafford. High projected scoring game, the first highest projected scoring of the week. So taking him any chance that I can get. Are we going with Jaden Reed or Chris Godwin? The thing with Jaden Reed is he is technically oh my goodness. Chat, what has Jaden Reed done to me? What has Jaden Reed done to me, chat? I would not take Jaden Reed. Look what Jaden Reed just did to me, bro. Jaden Reed almost just made me lose my voice, chat. But no, Jaden Reed, he's a wide receiver 1 technically. But is he really? He is their slot wide receiver 1. But he's not getting the target share. And there's a million other guys to play. And he's also getting one of the most negative matchups against the Broncos defense. I do not like him this week. But he was a good waiver ad if you were streaming him there. Are we trusting Evans? Not necessarily. It does depend on the other options that you have in your offense. But as far as trusting Mike Evans, that's not something I like doing. That's not something I like doing, chat. Or is Josh Jacobs out? Not technically yet. Not technically yet. So you do still have a chance. Evans playing ATL. He is indeed, but that doesn't necessarily make it a great matchup. Are we going with May over Baker? Yeah, I would be going with May over Baker. Technically a negative matchup, again, because the Bills do not allow a ton of fantasy points. But I trust him to take any of that. If anybody's going to defy the statistics there. Let's see, chat. Are we going with Pitts or Kelsey? I'll be taking Pitts here. Travis Kelsey, he looks washed just a little bit. I'm not going to lie. It's not like it's that negative of a matchup. The Chargers defense is pretty good, but it's not impossible to score on them. But I just trust Kyle Pitts way more without Drake London in this matchup either. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. If you guys aren't followed, hit that follow button. The followers questions come up first in the order of the chat as well, so it's way easier for me to read it. Somebody in the chat says Evans or Mooney. Yeah, we're definitely going Evans there. Definitely going Evans there. Darnell Mooney doesn't really have that much upside, way less than Evans possibly could. Are we going with Stafford or Mayfield? Yeah, we'll be going Stafford again. Stafford is pretty much a must start in every facet of fantasy football right now. With the matchup given, the Detroit Lions are also top 10, I believe top 5 in fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks. Very strong start, very great opportunity to put him in our starting lineups and hopefully get a win into the next week of the fantasy playoffs. If anybody's in this chat, you guys are probably in your fantasy playoffs as well. So hit that follow button. If you haven't followed, it's good luck to get your win. But more importantly, it's easier for me to see your starts at question if you are. Are we going with Pitts or Fannin? Fannin has been on a tear. I'm not going to lie. David Njoku has completely gone to dust. I would go Kyle Pitts in this one, but it is a risk for sure. If you want safety, surprisingly out of anybody, it's going to be Harold Fannin. Are we going with Mike Evans or Igbukah? Chat. Mike Evans has the most upside. And Mike Igbukah has not really done anything after Chris Godwin has come back. You would expect them to put a little bit more emphasis on getting Mike Evans the ball when he is in the game. If we're going pure upside perspective, I would take Mike Evans. Hope for the best. I do not trust Emeka Egbuka whatsoever this week. We can pull up the wide receiver rankings as you can see here. Emeka Egbuka is not ranked very high at all. Are going with Warren or Hampton? If this is Jalen Warren, we're going Jalen Warren. If it's Tyler Warren, then no. May or Baker, we're definitely going May on that one. Stafford, Mayfield, yep, we're definitely going with Stafford. Are we going with Evans or Swift at the flex? I would take Swift, chat. I would take Swift. Is Vele a good start this week? I wouldn't necessarily call him a good start, but he definitely can be in there for you. They really don't have anybody else outside of Chris Olave. And we saw their target share was relatively similar because they are running the exact same number of routes. I know Juwan Johnson is another top guy that people do like. He was running less routes than expected. He was splitting a lot with some of the other tight ends and Taysom Hill in the offense. Shout out to you for the super chat, man. W's in the chat. If you have any questions, I'll try to remember your name and prioritize that as well. Thank you so much. Are we going with, I'm just behind? Oh, no, you're good. You're good. You're good. We got a lot of comments to roll through, chat. We got a lot of comments to roll through, chat. Another super chat. Thank you guys so much. Another one. Rust, appreciate that. Are we going Singletary, Chuba, or Strange at the flex, I assume? If Tyron Tracy is fully healthy, which it looks like he will be playing in this game, I would not trust Devin Singletary. If it's in a PPR league, I honestly like Brenton Strange the most. The Jaguars are projected to win this game by a decent amount. The Jets actually have a pretty decent pass or run defense. Their pass defense is a little bit softer. So I would trust Brenton Strange as far as the target share goes. He's been a top 7, I believe, tight end in both of the games that he's been back. Pick 2, Scary Terry, Wandale, or Wilson. Yeah, if Marvin Harrison Jr. is healthy, I would take Wilson out of these guys. But if he's not, he has to be in your starting lineup, so I would sit Terry. So it really does depend on if Marv is healthy. At this point, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the biggest op to Michael Wilson. Shout out to you for the super chat as well. OG, I appreciate that so much. Anybody in the chat sending gifts or supers. You guys are absolutely amazing. I will try to prioritize your comments if I remember. When I remember, I will remember the usernames there as well. Let's see. I traded away Harvey for Dart and Dowdle. I don't know how you did that. That is an elite W, chat. Chat, that is insane. How did you do that? I love that. It is a great deal. That is an amazing deal, chat. I'm starting Mooney, Chuba, or Goddard at my flex. I would not trust Mooney this week. I would probably... The fact that I want to go Chuba Hubbard is absolutely insane. Dart or Dak? Yeah, I'll be going with Dart there. It's absolutely insane. Goddard is touchdown or bust. I don't want to trust him this week. So it kind of has to be Chuba. It kind of has to be Chuba unless you want to trust the upside of Mooney, which I really wouldn't do. Are going with Stroud or Love? This is a great question. I'll be going with CJ Stroud definitely on this one. Jordan Love was a streamer option last week. Now he gets a negative matchup against Patrick Surtain, Nick Benito, literally everybody. Riley Moss on this Denver Broncos defense. It is not positive, chat. I don't want to deal with that personally, especially if we don't have Josh Jacobs. The offense could really struggle. Are we going with the Atlanta defense or the Tampa defense? Definitely the Tampa Bay defense over the Atlanta Falcons here. Definitely. Justin Jefferson, Michael Wilson, or Mike Evans? Chat, I've been talking about this all week. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I would trust Justin Jefferson over all those guys. Now, if Marvin Harrison Jr. is out, Michael Wilson's your guy. But Justin Jefferson this week gets a matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, which are top 5. I believe top 3 in fantasy points allowed to the wide receivers this year. If it is ever going to be a week where we start Justin Jefferson, it is going to be this week, chat. So Justin Jefferson's in there for me. At this point, like, the NFL script writers just know that it's the first week of the playoffs, so he gets the best matchup of the year. Should I start RJ Harvey? He's a little bit lower in the start sit ranks. I can keep rolling through these. Sorry, I forgot to update it. You can keep looking through these. RJ Harvey, I would start. I guess it depends who over as well, but still, he's not a terrible start this week. Are going with Wilson, Jennings, Jefferson, Metcalf, Olave, Waddle, pick 3. Okay, so Justin Jefferson is going to be in our starting lineup there. Waddle is going to be in our starting lineup as well. And I would take Michael Wilson if there is no Marvin Harrison Jr. If Marvin Harrison Jr. is in this matchup, I would replace him with Juwan Jennings. Shout out OG for the super chat. I do appreciate you, man. Are we going with Higgins or Igbuka? T. Higgins, questionable, probably won't play. If we're talking Jaden Higgins, I'd probably just go with Igbuka because Jaden Higgins doesn't get the best game environment. Another super chat in the chat, man. You guys are going absolutely crazy. Thank you to everybody dropping all these supers, man. We're going Marvin Harrison Jr., Judy Reed, Wilson, Worthy, or Evans, pick 2, man. This is a fat question. Definitely not Worthy. Again, Michael Wilson's going to be number 1 if there's no Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't like having to start both of them if they're both healthy. Evans might have to be your upside play. My suggestion to you would be take Mike Evans in this week and then see how he does and then play the rest of those guys from there. So if Mike Evans has a really, really good game, you can go a little bit safer and take Marvin Harrison Jr. if he's healthy. If he has a terrible game, you probably have to go with one of these other guys like Jaden Reed to get that upside back. So that's what I would do for you. I would go Michael Wilson if there's no Marvin Harrison Jr. instantly. No question about that. And probably Mike Evans as well, just to try to get as much upside from that as we possibly can get. And you get a little bit of a bonus from getting him on Thursday night as well. So shout out to you and shout out to everybody else in the chat, man. If you aren't followed yet, hit that follow button. It takes 2 seconds. It's free to you. And I will prioritize the questions of the people that are followed in the chat. Another super chat. Let's go. I appreciate this. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. One of our top questions. Thank you so much. Pick 2, Scary Terry, Michael Wilson, or Wando. Yeah, we're going with Michael Wilson. If there's no Marv, if Marv is healthy, then I'm taking Scary and Wandale. Both of them get a very positive matchup. It is a lot to bank on this game being a good one and high scoring, but the sports books have it projected to be that way. So I will trust Vegas and take my chances with that one. Shout out another super chat in the Chizzy chat, man. Shout out to you. Ish, I appreciate that. I think Godwin is about to be a sneaky snap touchdown. I wouldn't be surprised. Chris Godwin has been getting a pretty decent target share over the past few weeks as he's been healthy. We do have Mike Evans back, so that definitely does complicate things. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers need to make playoffs, first of all. Are a pass-first offense. Bucky Irving is healthy, so it should keep the offense rolling. I would not be surprised. I'm going to remember this comment, and we'll come back to it and see how that works out. Thursday Night Football question, Mayfield or Tyler Shuck? I'll go Mayfield on this one. Tyler Shuck is actually a pretty decent start this week. I don't think he's that much of a trap as people think, but in that situation, that would not be what I'm going with here. Are going with Adunze, Evans, or Shakir. It's funny you put Shakir in this one. I do kind of like him as a target perspective because of the incentives that he does have. In his contract, I believe he's 6 receptions away from a huge like 500K bonus. He's 16 receptions away from another 500K bonus. So like in that aspect, Shakir kind of has some upside, but he gets a really negative matchup against the Patriots this week, and he doesn't really have a huge ceiling. He is a floor play for sure. If we're talking pure ceiling, it's going to be Mike Evans. Rome Odunze hasn't really done much, and it's a negative matchup. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but if we want pure ceiling, it's going to be Mike Evans. If you want a safer play, maybe the rest of your roster is really, really risky, I would go Shakir there. Should I start Mooney, Chuba, or Goddard at the flex? Yeah, I would take Chuba out of those options. Sutton or Hampton PPR. Both of them don't get great matchups. I'm kind of worried about what we're going to see with Hampton because he wasn't worked in a ton last week, but we kind of expected that. This week may be different. I would monitor what we see from the news and make that decision closer to the week because it is still Thursday. There's a lot of injury news that needs to come out, but I would probably lean towards sitting him here. Shout out to you, man. Marvin Harrison Jr. Yeah, we're definitely going with Evans #1 on this one. And then I would say I do not trust Jerry Jeudy. He gets a really negative or a positive matchup, but I would not trust him. So Evans there, Michael Wilson if there's no Marv. And if Marv is playing, I would go Jaden Reed, take a big upside kind of guy and go from there. Mooney question mark. I would not be trusting Mooney, chat. I would not be trusting Mooney, chat. We are very close, 10 minutes away from tip off to this game. If you guys have any more questions, make sure you're spamming them. I will get to them. Again, thank you guys so much. Anybody that dropped the super chat, you guys are absolutely amazing. Anybody that's dropping gifts in the chat, I do appreciate it. King, thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much. It has been an absolutely amazing season, a crazy season. Bubba, thank you for the follow over on TikTok as well. Are we going with Juwan Johnson or Brenton Strange? Yeah, Juwan Johnson is one of the top tight ends this week as far as projection for a ton of sites. I would be going with him, but just be aware that his snaps did kind of get cut a little bit as far as like the routes that he run because they were using Taysom Hill a lot more in some of the other tight ends. I don't think that trend is going to continue this week, but there's definitely a chance that it does. So that does kind of scare me from a perspective, but the Panthers defense isn't great and it should be a close game. So I would still stick with him in this one. Shout out with another super chat. Thank you guys so much, man. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much, chat. Damn, bro, you guys are going insane. Chat, chill. Chat, chill. Thank you guys so much, though. I really do appreciate you. Everybody in the chat doing your thing. You guys are absolutely amazing. RJ Harvey, Justin Jefferson, or Sutton. Yeah, if it's ever going to be a week, has to be it for Justin Jefferson, man. Justin Jefferson, please show up. Please be Justin Jefferson again for us, man. Please, bro. Oh my goodness, you guys are crazy, bro. King with another super chat. W King in the chat. Jalen versus Vegas or Purdy versus Tennessee? Yeah, I've gotten this question a lot because of what we just saw from Jalen Hurts. And I understand it. Like, it was absolutely disgusting. Thank you for the roses over on TikTok. I do appreciate that as well. I would still go with Jalen Hurts here. Purdy is projected to win this game, him and the 49ers, by almost 2 touchdowns, which is positive. But if those don't end up being passing touchdowns and they're all rushing, it could be bad. The Tennessee Titans are a run funnel of a defense as well, so that definitely doesn't help. I would go with Jalen Hurts. The Eagles are still fighting for a playoff spot. They're very well in #1 seed contention for their division, at least. So I would hope Jalen Hurts can listen to us, and we're taking Jalen Hurts in this one. The last week's performance just really makes him a lot more risky of a play in people's minds. I don't necessarily think it's that bad. And that's coming from a Commanders fan, so I guess take that for what you will. Need a wide receiver 2 and a flex. We're going with Sutton, Woody, Brees, Swift, Michael Wilson. Yeah, well, Michael Wilson's #1 if there's no Marv, but assuming he is in, we're not taking him here. I'll probably take Sutton for the touchdown upside and then Brees as well. The Jaguars defense is very good in stopping the run, but he does get the pass catching upside, and it depends who's at quarterback too. So I definitely suggest when we get closer to the Sunday games, put it in the Walter Picks app, start sit tool here. Again, you can just download Walter Picks, use my code Avery. If you haven't already, you'll get a free trial to everything because we update everything live. So it'll be a lot easier. But that would be my answer for now, of course. Are we going with Devin Neal or Evans PPR? Yeah, at this point, just go Evans. Just go with the upside of Evans and see what you can get with him here. Another super chat. Shout out to you guys, man. We got Devin Neal Evans. Yeah, whoa. What are the odds of that, bro? I just answered it. Rob, thank you so much, man. Yeah, I would still go Mike Evans in this one. I mean, the upside for him is there. Even if he's going to be restricted in snaps, it's just there. Pick 3 are going with Evans, Diggs, Ladd, or JMO. Yeah, I would definitely be starting JMO in this matchup. Again, thank you so much for the super chat. Chair, I think that name is. Thank you so much. W profile picture as well. I would be taking Jameson Williams. I would be taking Ladd. Even if it is a negative matchup, that slot wide receiver role does get targeted a bit more. And then between Evans and Diggs, Diggs has been decreasing in his snap share a lot, but the game is projected to be one of the higher scoring of the week. And the Bills aren't great in stopping wide receivers. And it looks like he will be fully good to go and healthy in this matchup. Diggs is really just a high floor or high ceiling, low floor kind of guy. We don't know what to expect. And since you've made it to the fantasy playoffs this far, I don't want us to have to lose because of Mike Evans. Could we win because of Mike Evans? It's possible, but you've been able to do that all year without him. So I really just don't want him to put up a goose egg on our starting lineup. Now, he will be put in for the key snaps. That's what they've said themselves. Probably red zone, probably third down. He's going to need a touchdown to be fantasy viable, in my opinion, and I just don't necessarily trust it for the fantasy playoffs because we're going all in, chat. We're going all in. We're going Odunze or Shakir. Shakir has the higher potential, in my opinion. Odunze is completely just like 0 or 20. You don't know what you're going to get, and it's a negative matchup against the Browns defense. The ball has to go somewhere, though. Jaden Higgins or Chris Godwin? Yeah, I would take Chris Godwin in that one, but I would take Shakir in this question here. Chat, thank you guys so much for hopping in this live stream, man. We are quickly approaching the tip-off. This has been the most interesting Thursday night football game as far as starts and questions have gone all year. So I appreciate you guys hopping in this live stream. You guys are absolutely amazing. Are going with, please bless me, I got you 100%. Are we going with Ladd or Igbuka? I would just take Ladd. I know it's a negative matchup for the Chargers just generally against the Chiefs defense. It should be a slower game. But you're looking at Ladd from a slot wide receiver perspective. He should have a higher target share. And Igbuka, like we really do not know what to expect, especially now with Mike Evans healthy. It's risky. He will probably be the next guy out. Are going with Jackson or Hurts? Yeah, I would take Jackson there. Somebody saying please in the comments. I'm trying to look for your question right now. Go ahead and spam it again, and I'll look for it. Pick 2, Dowdle, Henderson, or Hampton. Yeah, for now, I would sit Hampton, but just look at the news as we get closer to the week. Again, it is Thursday, so a lot of injury news, a lot of updates and team decisions are still to come. So unless we get more news that Hampton's like going to play all the snaps, I would probably sit him in this one. Here we go. I saw it. I got you, bro. I got you. Pick 3, Evans, Igbuka, Odunze, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Chris Rodriguez. This lineup, chat, is just a whole bunch of risk. The fact that you have to decide between these, I completely understand why you have this question now. Oh, man. I would take Chris Rodriguez solely from a touchdown perspective. The game isn't projected to be a super high scoring one, but it is projected to be close, and he could probably fall in the end zone there. Odunze is the highest risk, high reward out of all of these risks, so I'd take him at the 2. Both of Christian Watson and Jaden Reed. The problem here is that Pat Surtain is going to shadow one of them, and we don't really know which one it is. I would assume it's Christian Watson because he has been playing better, and Jaden Reed plays in the slot. You don't typically shadow slot wide receivers. So that would make Christian Watson a risky start, but they already are risky because of how much they pass the ball around. So at this point, just go Evans at the 3. He has the same risk, but a little bit less of an issue there. Just know that it is entirely possible that he is insanely restricted. So just keep that in mind if you want a floor play. Are we going with Andrews or Johnson or Wandale Robinson or Flowers? Yeah, I will go Wandale over Flowers pretty easily. And then if we're going Johnson, is it Juwan Johnson? I'm assuming it is. I would take Juwan Johnson over Andrews. Now, Andrews does have touchdown upside because of how high scoring this game is projected to be. But as far as a floor perspective in a game environment, Johnson's going to be your safe floor. But Andrews is going to be that upside with a touchdown if you want that. Let's see. Please, I got you, bro. Pick one over the chat go. Emeka Igbuka, Hampton, or Watson. Yeah, this is insane. My number 1 suggestion would be to try out the Walter Picks app It's what I'm showing on screen right here. If you just download Walter Picks, put my code Avery in the app when you sign up, you can get a free trial if you're a new user, and you can see what Walter Picks says because it is literally built off thousands and thousands of data points and real NFL knowledge updating in real time. I would likely go with Amarion Hampton in this one. Again, I want to get a little bit more information on what his status and involvement looks like, and more of that information will be showing as we get closer to the weeks. And Walter Picks does have a news feed inside the player profile as well. So Hampton's going to be my guy there. Thanks. Now Brock Purdy or Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I would be going with Patrick Mahomes on this one. Are we going with Woody Marks or Michael Wilson? Michael Wilson if there is no Marv. At this point, we might want to go with him anyways. But Woody has the saver floor if there is a Marvin Harrison Jr. playing this week. Just remember that. Chat, I appreciate everybody hopping in this stream, man. You guys are absolutely insane. This was an amazing Thursday. McBride or Dowdle, honestly, just go McBride. Honestly, just go McBride. We've had an amazing Thursday stream, chat. You guys are absolutely amazing. If anybody's still in this chat, drop some W's for you. We got over 50 people, almost 100 and some other ones. Thank you guys so much for hopping in this stream, man. Drop some W. You guys are absolutely insane. Start Baker. He's a start, but not a must start. I appreciate everybody hopping in this stream. If you're over on YouTube, thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys. I will see you in the next YouTube videos coming later. And we also will have a Thursday stream. If you guys make it to the next round of playoffs, I will see you there. Thank you guys so much for hopping in over on YouTube.